Hello, everybody. Very warm welcome to Amazing You podcast and YouTube channels, the channels where stories of resilience, triumph, and unwavering hope come to life. And in each episode, we dive into the inspiring journeys of individuals who have faced the toughest challenges heads on and emerged victorious. And our aim is to be a beacon of inspiration, offering a guiding light to those navigating through difficult times. Whether you today, who is watching or who is listening, whether you are dealing with health challenges or professional setbacks or personal struggles, this channel is dedicated to uplifting your spirit and showing you that even in the darkest moments, there's a path to hope and triumph. So join us as we share powerful stories that transcend adversity, reminding you that resilience is a force within us all. So be prepared, everybody, to be inspired and to find the strength to navigate life's challenges. So this is Amazing You Channels, where hope takes center stage. I am your host. My name is Dr. Rani Thanacoody. I am a clinical hypnotherapist. I am a Mars Venus life and relationship coach, breathwork coach, astrologer, tarot reader, past life regression practitioner, chakra practitioner, and life force compassion practitioner. And today, I have really a very special guest who has a story of how he has shown resilience on his life journey and how he is now inspiring people around the world and in his community. So let me introduce you to the wonderful Brian Romain. Brian is an entrepreneur. He owns a meat delivery business with local butchers. He is also a podcaster, and his podcast is called Clean Plates Podcast, which is on the relationship that we have with others. And it also talks about how to live to cook good food. He is passionate about inspiring others now to spread positivity through life and through food. And Brian has also got a day job at a restaurant called Bonfire Burritos in Colorado. So very warm welcome, Brian, to Amazing You.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rani. I appreciate you a lot.
Thank you. You are amazing. When I was reading your bio, I say, wow, this is so inspiring. And I really hope that the audience will get inspired today with what Brian will share with you on his journey. So, Brian, your journey from struggling from alcoholism to sobriety and success is incredibly inspiring. So could you, Brian, share with us the turning point or moments that led you to make that decision to get sober and to restructure your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, and had a pretty, structured, normal life with my folks and my two siblings. And, I always worked throughout high school and had a lot of friends and normal societal, tendencies. Yet drinking was always, something that became apparent from the time that I was a teenager until, just into the last couple of years of my life, where society is always having these weights on, drinking to be social, drinking to go meet people, drinking to have meetings with people in the adult world. It's a lot of focus around drinking. And I found myself in that position pretty quickly and pretty early on in my life where alcohol became the centerfold of the room. It became a center of attention, I should say, more or less, where that was the focal point of every get together and every reason to celebrate it. And so for me, the turning point was in 2020 when I had exited a relationship that, wasn't really of my choice, but it had to be done due to just the where I was at in my life now in retrospect, as well as where I was sitting in that point. It made sense where, my partner no longer wanted to, pursue a relationship, and that led to my drinking to sort of 10x fold to its most heightened, you know, time in my life where I was drinking every day, and I was drinking anywhere up to about a liter of vodka a day, sometimes less, but never really any more, just because my body couldn't even handle anything after that. I'd be getting pretty sick. But I just chose to go into this corner where I numbed out from the whole world. I didn't really want to have any interaction with friends or family or anybody for that matter. I just was swallowing my own, just my emotions and everything around it to the point where it did start to destruct my life. I've had a few DUIs now, as well as I've spent, a total of about 80 plus days in jail, two different counties throughout 5 years of being on probation. It would just got to be a mess. The one thing led to another. Everything just came to a crashing point in 2020 in the middle of the year, as well as it was still in the hype of COVID. So there was a lot that was going on. And I decided to check myself into a inpatient rehab program where I stayed there for 2 months and really like just shut off from the whole world, where I didn't interact with mostly anybody besides my parents and direct family and a couple of friends that knew I was there that were supportive of the move itself. So that was the real turning point, because that was the first time I had ever taken a major break from drinking. It was the first time that I had ever had my problems faced to me in a sober environment. And it was the first time I was able to see everything mapped out for what it's worth and where I needed to go. So that was the turning point in everything, because since then only good and positive things have come into my life.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. So it's a way like to escape from the reality of life. But it's not doing you or anybody any good, because at some point it will have to surface these feelings and these emotions. And you were very, very brave when you share that part where you went to a rehabilitation center and you chose to 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 take that step forward in your life, which is not easy because a lot of people do not recognize. How did you make that decision, Brian? Can you share a bit more with us about that? How did you make that decision? Because a lot of people who are alcoholic, they do not want to acknowledge that they have a problem.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking that. It's a great question. The moment that I really realized that this was something that I not only needed, but was going to be a pivoting step in my life as a whole, is when I was sitting in my lawyer's office and I was having a conversation with him about my third DUI, which he black and white explained to me that there's this there's an edge with all of that, because if you get 4 DUIs in the state of Colorado, you are a felon. So being a felon restricts you from a multitude of things that I just won't really get into because it's easily accessible knowledge, and I don't think anybody wants to know how to become a felon anyway. It's not anything that you ever want to experience in your life. Sitting in front of me was this energy, this metaphor, this feeling that all I could think about was my future. All I could think about was everything that was going to happen because of these decisions that I'd been making for the better part of 10 years. All of these choices that led up to always choosing the party, always choosing the late nights, always choosing to just go, 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 go. Attend every Friday night get together, bar hop, music festival, concert. It was almost like all that time had flashed up before my eyes, the good times, the bad times, and everything in between. And I realized that at 29 years old at that time, I had lived a pretty exciting lifestyle. But again, that's not always positive, because exciting can go into multiple directions. So sitting in my lawyer's office, I just had this forethought of, well, what's next? Because it could be death. It could be another string of decisions that make me justify my alcoholism even more. And I could just continue to rack up charges. And then on the other side of not taking my case seriously, because there's only so much that the court or a judge will do for you if you don't care about your life in general. If you show no remorse in the decisions that you've made, and again I realized that those decisions I had made were so poor that they reflected onto me in the society of being a threat to it as well as a threat to myself. So keep that all in mind, where it just made the most sense to kind of, I wouldn't even call it giving in. It's just it's an energy that I decided to ride with, because my life or death situation was so dire straits, so crucial, that this just needed to happen. So I looked my lawyer straight in the face and I said, please help me get into a rehab, because I don't know how I'm going to deal with all of this in court business without having a clear head of what I'm going to be doing with my life, because
Right.
clearly I've done enough destruction now to cause a whole case about it. So that's where I ultimately made the decision, is that it just seriously needed to happen. And without it, I just would not be the same person I am today.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you were very, very lucky that you made that decision at that time to change your life, because it's only you who can change your life. No, your lawyers wouldn't be able to, your family wouldn't be able, until you decide to take your life into your hands and make that decision, because your life has changed completely for the better, and it's going to get better and better. And I would like to say congratulations, Brian, for staying sober, or because it is about celebrating your victory every day as well, because this is important to celebrate your wins. And I think that's really, really important, because we tend to put ourselves down so much, or sometimes it's society who puts us down, but we have to be our own cheerleader. So cheering yourself and congratulating yourself. And on behalf of all the audience listening and watching, I am congratulating you, because it is not an easy journey, but you've taken that step. And now you, Brian, are a role model, because you can go and talk about that and and share people your story of what you've experienced and how they can come out from that darkness to the light, because you are such an inspiration to the young people, but for everybody else as well, because we need stories like you, people like you, who have overcome so many challenges, but to become an inspiration, a beacon of light for others. So I really admire you for that. And my other question to you, Brian, is when you were facing these legal consequences and spending time in jail, this can be incredibly challenging. So, how did you navigate through those tough times? And what lesson did you learn from those experiences, Brian?
You know, it's interesting because we are a society of renaissance and rebirth. We are creatures of habit that will create these multiples of life, where in retrospect now, it's something where I wanted my life to be at a certain point, or had accomplished certain things, or done certain things in certain careers, but I realized pretty quickly that I had to simplify most things for about the better part of 5 years being on probation, because you can't leave the country. You can leave the state, but it has to be authorized, and I did it plenty of times, authorized and completely sanctioned and all, but it's a difficult process. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of effort. So therefore, the dogma and the just repeating became its own life. I mean, for the longest time, all I'd ever scheduled out were probation meetings, probation officer meetings, UAs, therapy, drug and alcohol classes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So navigation is an interesting term because I lost so much in the 5 years being on probation that about 2 years and some change into it, when things got at their worst and I got another DUI on probation for my second one. They resentenced me for another 3 years. I just knew that something had to restructure. So it's interesting because I got sober in 2020, but I still had to do 60 days of jail time last year, from about May to August, because of COVID. It had set back all of the cases and also extended my probation a lot. That's really was a main thing with it. So being sober now for 3+ years and then going into jail last year was interesting because, you're in there with drug addicts, fresh off the street, alcoholics, vice versa. I mean, everybody's more or less pro drug in in the pod that I was, staying in. It's you're people are cycling in and out. So it's like you have people that have been there for 2 months, 6 months, 2 days, 2 weeks. There's it's such a cycle of all of it that you kind of just have to act as if there is an end to all of it, for me at least, because I had already been sentenced. I had already, seen a judge and knew what I had to do. It was just all the time, that really, at the end of the day, kind of rubber band affects you, because you don't realize that you're 27, almost 28 when this first really starts to spice up. And now I'm 33. So that gap is gone. All that time in life is gone. But now is the new chapter to start again. And so that's where I'm talking about, just like navigation is a whole aspect within itself, where it is difficult to go through those processes. But the first 2 years of probation were the hardest ones because I was still getting over my own addiction and dodging around drinking and being on probation, which caught up to me. So then again, it's just everything went away. My jobs, my relationships, my family did stick around and were always very supportive of helping, because they did see at one point I did actually try to make things better. And 3 years ago and some change, when I went into rehab, was when things started to get better. Things just started to fall back into place. things just started to come back into my life that I had once lost. So it's a teeter-totter of all this waves of emotion. It's almost like you're
Yeah.
swimming with no life vest.
Mm.
But I managed to get through it because I realized the benefits that I saw when I got out of rehab, and sustaining from alcohol and hard drugs have been probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life.
Right.
Just because I now have a stronger mind to fight against the resilience of the pressure
Mm.
that society or other people can still put
Yeah.
on you when
Mm.
you're in my position.
Yes. That's so true. Yes. Society is always put a lot of pressure when we go through tough times, and it's not always very, society is very easy, very quick to judge than to understand. Yeah.
Over the course of our evolution, there's been a disconnection from a natural and wholesome diet. We need to put back the good into our nutrition. That's why Juice Plus created the Omega Blend to contribute to your daily nutrition. A rich and unique blend that combines the best omega sources nature has to offer. Like sea buckthorn, a golden berry that grows under the harshest conditions, braves the elements to become a resilient fruit and a powerful source for omega-7 with one of the highest omega-7 potency of any known plant source. Or pomegranate, with a seed oil that is so abundant in omega-5 fatty acids that it has been valued and traditionally used for centuries. And microalgae, one of the Earth's oldest plant organisms. Invisible to the naked eye, but powerful and filled with omega-3 fatty acids to maintain your normal function of the heart, brain, and vision. Provided by nature, our Omega Blend is carefully selected from algae, fruit, and seed oils to give your body a wider spectrum of nutrients it needs, like the omega fatty acids 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9 in just one capsule. Juice Plus Omega Blend. Real nutrition, real simple.
But now, Brian, that you maintain your sobriety, and how do you balance it with the demands of you running your business as an entrepreneur, hosting your podcast, and having your full-time job? Tell us about that. How do you juggle all that now?
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. Understanding that is its own chaos because someone like myself needs a lot of grind. And that's like really where, when I was drinking all the time, working so hard and drinking always, for whatever reason, would go together, especially when I was a full-time like line cook and cook,
Right.
sous chef. Alcohol is very celebrated on the work line.
Okay.
So nowadays, it's interesting because I finally feel like I have things in my life that balance all of that out. In December of 2022, is when I met my good friend Eric Hinman, who I went on a 1-day retreat with him and 9 or so other men, and Mike Adalia, or Adala, sorry, um, one of our good friends, was doing breath work and some other workouts with us there that day. And just being around that community of men, but humans in general, very inspiring to the sense of like what your perfect day kind of looks like. And it really had me thinking after I'd left the retreat, because it included a morning workout, a good meal, some good coffee, summiting an 11,000-foot mountain, and then doing an hour and a half of, or, so of contrast therapy with saunas and cold plunge and, red light therapy. The list goes on. So I started to just piece all of these things together of like, that sounds like it's the best thing in the world. So over the last year, like actual 365 calendar days, I've worked my way into kind of having that be my lifestyle. I mean, this morning I woke up at 6 in the morning to go work out at 6:40 with a class that I do on Wednesdays and Fridays. I am on a meal plan that friend of mine, shout out to my buddy Tyler Holt, has graciously put me on. And, I walk my dog at least 1.5 to 3 miles a day, as well as I eat, consistently the right things, and I take the right supplements, and I drink a lot of water. It sounds so cliche because there's a lot of people who will whittle down these things for you to do. But, when I'm doing on my days off from my full-time job and I'm doing my podcast, I'm delivering, cuts of meat to people and rubbing elbows with that community, it's sort of just like this switch, because Saturday through Tuesday, I'm dialed in to what we do at Bonfire Burritos. I'm there for 10 hours a day from, around 6:30 to about 4 p.m. or so. And so, yeah, and 6:30 a.m. And so it's like, I know how to be present and really drop into our community there, because if I'm not up at the front of the house, I'm working our patio and giving out online orders, because we make on average over 150 burritos an hour. And we do a lot of service to the folks in Golden, Colorado. So having those two balances of life, where those 4 days, I am on point with there, and then I dial in my recovery at home with sauna and cold plunge and red light therapy, as well as I wear my blue blocking glasses at night and really dial in sleep. And then Wednesday through Friday on my days off, I'm doing the same things, but it's just a different formula. Because at work, I make sure I have all my supplements and I eat all the right food for energy, and that my brain is turned on with things like ketone IQ and Organifi's, reds and greens, because that's really helping my brain talk to thousands of people throughout 4 days of time. And then when you dial it back into just smaller classes at the gym, podcasts like we're doing right now, or the podcasts I do for Clean Plates, it's all having these systems put into place. And that just would never work if I was still drinking all the time, because it's the scatteredness of when I was an alcoholic that it'd be like every single day I would wake up being like, when did I even go to bed? And it's just because I passed out every night. I didn't actually go to sleep. I just was, just zonked from the exhaustion of me drinking so much, doing drugs, staying up late, and just trying to do that with a full time. I got fired from so many jobs, or a soft firing, if you really want to call it like that, just because people are like, we feel bad that we have to like do this because we all have drinks after work, or we know how to balance our life with alcohol, but you just don't. And when you're in the restaurant and like cooking world, that's hard to hear because everybody is so celebratory with alcohol at all times of the day. So you're like, why can't I be balanced like them? But it's just because my habit got to such a adverse level that, it just needed to have some sort of intervention within an intervention, so that's how I keep everything balanced, is that I have these systems in place that just wouldn't work any other way unless I was able to do them in a orderly fashion.
Yeah.
And that's all stemming from the therapy I've learned over the last 3+ years, the things I learned in rehab, and just the core values that certain people have left in me since my time with sobriety that have just overall really helped me a lot, as well as like, I do a lot of therapeutic stuff with CBD and other full spectrum, cannabis, just because it's helped me being in a legal state in Colorado to have that, as well as just other things that have come out in the supplement industry for nootropic health.
Yeah. Wow. You've said so many great things, Brian. And I really like when you talk about how when you went to that retreat and you went with some really uplifting friends, because I don't know if you know of Jim Rohn. He used to say you become like the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, that's a true statement. And it's interesting because when I was at that time in my life and I barely knew any of this, because I just went, I didn't know anybody. I was invited through Eric because I asked him if I could attend, and we were able to, come together and do that. And when meeting him and everybody else in this community, spending all day with them inspired me so much to start structuring my life after that day of like, how do I go to the gym all the time? Or how do I get outside enough on my own? Or like, what activities do I do outside? Or like, what do I eat? Or what supplements do I take? Like, how do I, make myself feel the most optimal? And that's also what's led me to like doing blood work with like Get Blokes and other comprehensive men's DNA, like your fingerprint, just me, Brian Romain. Like, what's going to help me maximize my body the most? That's natural, occurring in the world, or, things that are like peptides or other things that are helpful for the fact that I'm getting older and I want to stay on top of being as optimal as I can. I think it's a fascinating thing with food and supplemental nutrition that are two things that I'm trying to, really dive into on my podcast. That's why I'm calling it Clean Plates, because it's a clean plate of food. When I was a kid, my mom had the Clean Plate Award because they were always serving us healthy portions of everything. And my siblings and I were getting enough of the nutrients of what we needed.
Mm,
And, it's impressive for two people to feed three children for 18 plus years each.
mm,
And so I'm very thankful for my parents for that. It's the podcast will be around relationships and food and the human environment of why we eat and what we eat for what reason. So
mm.
it's inspiring just to be on this podcast alone and having these conversations like the one we're having right now.
I am so grateful to have you because it's really because I like to eat very healthy food, and more I have realized the importance of organic supplements, because in the food that we eat we don't always have everything because there's so much pesticides and all that. So I am part of a business where we provide organic supplements, but we also help individuals to grow their own vegetables through the tower garden. So you can grow it indoor or outdoor. So it will be in the
Beautiful.
advert. Yes, it is amazing. It is a concept that comes from the States anyway. And I really like that you, Brian, are taking your life into your hands, and you are not only looking at your physical well-being, you are looking after your mental well-being, your also what you feed in your body. All these are important to have to live an optimal health. And I think you are doing a great job, and I'm glad that you shared that to show people that well-being, it also consists of what we eat, what we put in our body, what we drink, what we do physically in terms of exercise, like you do, like if we need to mentally, that you go through therapies. And I think all these are important aspects of well-being. It's not only doing one thing, and that doing all these activities keep us connected to ourselves and also help us to live in the present moment and enjoy every moment to the fullest. Because now I'm sure when you go to work, you enjoy the time you spend there, because you know when you will get back after these 4 days, you will be able to connect back to yourself and do your practices and be on your podcast, meet wonderful people. And that's exciting. And I think that gives you that balance, because when you are able to come home and you connect, do all your activities, walk your dog, go in nature, these are extremely important. These might seem small things, but it's the small things that matters. It's not the big thing that we do, but it's the little thing that we do each day for ourselves. Because like what you are doing, you are not only impacting your life, you are impacting the life of all the people around you, because they see a different Brian. They see a Brian who is energetic, who wants to do things, who want to help other people. So you are an inspiration without doing much, but just looking after yourself. Yeah, and I think that's so important. If people would realize how important it is to take care of our well-being, mental health, physical, because then we can help and give more to others. We have more to give. Brian, I don't know, I could talk to you for hours, because I love when you talk about the podcast, about how food is important, how the relationship that we have with others, about your podcast. I think these are very, very interesting topics. And just two last thing I would like to ask you. As somebody who inspires others to spread positivity through life and through food, what advice, Brian, do you have for individuals today who are watching and listening to us, who may be struggling with similar challenges that you face, Brian?
I appreciate that question a lot because I hear it all the time from folks that they're always looking for, something, and it's hard when you're just surrounded by people in your community that are doing almost exactly what you're doing because they're justifying your drinking, they're justifying your poor choices with food or relationships. And I simply just have to tell people that they're not alone. As hard as it is to quantify that, you're just not alone. Because when you start reaching out to different avenues of how you can get help, everything kind of starts washing to the wayside. I noticed that in my first year of sobriety from alcohol, that all the people that I thought were like talking about me all the time or hubbub this or that or going to invite me still to the bars or the concerts or the drinking adventures just kind of went away. Because when you stop engaging in that monster, and I'm not saying that it's monstrous for every, because that's the thing, is that some people have their drinking under control and that's what they do in their life. I don't knock anybody for having any sort of moderation with anything at all.
Yes.
It's just the fact that we put so much pressure on each individual in our society because of other foreshadows, like rock stars, football players, musicians alike, rappers. It's all glitz and glam because, oh, you're not making enough money, so you're not having a good time in your life. And that just also means that you're not partying and spending every night like it's Friday with us over here in the winner circle. There's too much of a highlight reel on social media for people to ever get a real concept that they're not alone. And everyone just keeps hammering it into them almost metaphorically that they are alone and that they're never going to succeed unless they, do this or that or whatever. So I just always try to tell people that it's okay to feel that pull away from your drinking friends, your club friends, your late night concert, bar, whatever you want to put the box in. And once you start taking responsibility for what integrity you put into the world, you'll start seeing these things piece together differently. Because I know I realized that every Red Rock show and local concert wasn't always the most important thing, especially because they're getting more expensive. And the time, because if I want to get up early in the morning and start my day with all these things that are impacting my health in a better way, I can't be out late, super late at night. And every once in a while, sure. Like, I'm not telling you don't go to concerts, don't go to bars, and don't go out with your friends, and don't have nights where you stay up late, eating and doing partying on the holidays, with your family and stuff. I'm not saying don't do any of that. It's just I chose to modify it in a way where it may sound lame or normal or less fun to some people, but I'm out here having a blast, and it feels good to go to bed with a peace of mind, knowing that you're going to wake up in the morning fresh, or even just trying to do that, trying to go to bed with this natural way of the sun going down into your circadian rhythm, and then waking up with the sun and having sunlight in your face. Like, I've never felt better than when I was the front row of a Red Rock show, completely blasted out of my mind on drugs and alcohol. That I just feel better doing this stuff. And I feel like I have these spiritual conversations with the like 60-year-old version of myself. And he's just saying, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian, because, when we connect with nature, when we connect with ourselves, and we appreciate the beauty of nature, I think nothing can explain that, because we are part of nature. We are part of this whole universe.
We are water.
Absolutely. We are made of all these particles in this universe. So when we are able to connect with the sun, and we have a certain rhythm, routine in our life, and we do things that we like, that we enjoy, that we find joy in, and that's the greatest happiness. It's about everybody finding their happiness, but I understand when you said that as well, because for me, when I walk in nature, oh my God, just looking at the sky, just hearing the birds, and it can be just one bird, but appreciating the beauty of nature, it's so relaxing for the mind and the body. And it gave me a different appreciation of the creation of life. It gave me a different, and it is my time as well. When I do those things in nature, it's spend time in nature. It's my time to connect with me. It's like enjoying being in the present moment. That's really helped me. Through COVID, I did that, walking every day in nature, and that has helped me away from the madness of what everybody was worried about. It's so easy to be carried away, to be consumed by the social media, by unrealistic expectations of society. But when you remove yourself from all that and you just spend time with nature, it's the most beautiful thing. Yes, thank you. Brian, the time flew so quickly. It's an hour. I can't believe it. It's been amazing and really inspiring talking to somebody like you who've been through so much at such a young age. And I wish you, Brian, a lot of success with your podcast, with enjoying your new life, the new Brian. It's a new Brian now. Yes. It's a new Brian who is becoming the best of himself each day, so that you keep inspiring people, Brian, because your story, you need to tell it. Because when we tell our story of how we overcome these challenges, it's not only inspiring others, but it's also helping us to heal ourselves. So it is a healing journey as well, what you are doing, but you are inspiring others as well. So keep doing that. And I wish you a lot of success for your podcast, for everything that you do. And I will keep watching, listening to the things that you do. And I wish you a lot of success, and the best is yet to come for you and for everybody. And everybody, to the audience, I would say big thank you for watching, for sharing, for listening, for subscribing. And I hope you have been inspired today by the journey that Brian have been through, and that you are able to take steps to create the life that you want, because you are the you are the master of your life, of your destiny. Just like Brian, he had the power to change his life and he did it. So if Brian did it, you can do it too. So thank you, everyone, and lots of love to all of you. And big thank you, Brian, again. Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you so much for having me on. Truly, this has been such a wonderful conversation. If anybody would like to reach out to me, they can find me on Instagram at Brian, BRIAN _Waterleaf, because it's a play on words with my last name. So BRIAN _WATERLEAF. My delivery business here in Colorado locally that I just work with a couple ranchers, and the local butcher shop that I work with is called The Local Block. So that's THE_LOCAL _BLOCK. And then you can find my podcast that will be launching next month with episodes as I record them now. And that's called Clean Plates Podcast. That's CLEAN _PLATES _PODCAST. Again, my name is Brian Romain. And Doctor, thank you so much for having me on today. I cannot wait to water the seed of our relationship in the future, to watch it grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your links, because I forgot to ask you that, but I appreciate that you shared it. And definitely, you are most welcome to come again in the next few months to share your story, something else. And I'm sure that you have a lot to say and to inspire the audience. Thank you, Brian, and thank you.
Yeah, let's keep it. Yeah, thank you.